Welcome, everyone, to the Jefftroidvania podcast. I'm your host, Uncle Jeevan. With me is Social Media Gaming and special guest, Jefftroidvania. We record this podcast live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can listen to this podcast on Apple, Spotify, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can also become a member of this podcast and get extra podcast content every single month. Drip, Jeff, how are you guys? We got some big news today, guys. Well, it's not news. It's leaks. We got some big leaks today, not news. What do you guys think? What's up, guys?
It's all fake.
The turkey really sells it, yeah.
Yeah, it's fake, all of it. No, I'm kidding. I don't think it's all fake. I think some of the stuff I heard today might be fake, but it's fun. It's fun stuff. I'm excited.
It is.
Yes.
Jeff, how you doing?
As questionable as it can be, this is fun. And yeah, I'm doing great, guys. I'm really glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Yeah. I feel bad because I asked Jeff last week about coming on the show, but for a completely different topic. We were going to follow up some PS5 stuff with you guys because I think it's very interesting and I want to talk about it because the PS5 Pro stuff. You guys checked that episode last week. Thanks for that. But yeah, Jeff did a bunch of little research for us because he was going to talk about that stuff tonight, and we're not doing it because this morning, Nintendo. I'm sorry, I keep saying that. It's not Nintendo. This morning, the internet released images that may or may not be legit, and we're not sure about it. Some of us are more sure than others, and that's exactly exactly what today's episode is about. So, before we get to that, I need to do a Google search. Drip and Jeeb. And you may ask, why would you do that? It's because I didn't do it beforehand. But it's easy and quick because all I got to do is
search. This is becoming a recurring thing every single week.
And we need to see if there's a review. And there is no extra review this week. So I have no review to read for you guys. But if you want to write a review, you can do so at Apple Podcasts. You leave it 5 stars, say whatever you want. And if you do that, you enter to win a $50 eShop gift card that we already gave away. But that person still to this day has not responded to us to receive their gift card. Therefore, we are not going to give it to them because we can't. So we're going to give that gift card to somebody else. And again, if you want to do it, if you want to enter, you can leave a 5-star review and do that yourself. But yeah, we have no review, Drip. How do you feel about that?
I mean, people must not want a $50 eShop gift card, I guess. I don't know.
I guess so. We had remember that review we had last week? Last week's review was great. I really appreciate that review.
It was fantastic. It was. I thought it wasn't real. It was so good.
And then David came in and told us live on the show that
yeah. He's like, no, actually, I'm a teacher and it is real, and you're welcome.
Like, yeah. Do you remember that? Okay. Yeah. This is AI. He's like, nah, he's like, that good.
He's like, nah, man, that's my $100,000 education right there, bro. I'm like, all right, cool.
$100,000 well spent just for that review.
Yeah.
It was great.
We do have other business to take care of this week, Drip. And,
we do?
Yeah, we do. We have a sponsor this week, guys, and we're going to get to our sponsor right now. Today's sponsor is MobilePad. Drip, we've both tried a bunch of third-party Joy-Cons. I think we both can say that MobilePad M6 HDs are the best we've ever used, hands down.
Yes.
From the mechanical buttons, HD rumble, MIUI support, they're lacking any features. They have it all, and they have other products too. They have the MobilePad Chai 2, the Pro Controller alternative. They have the MobilePad Nintendo Switch dock, which is a dock for your Nintendo Switch, and they have the MobilePad M6S, a cheaper alternative to the M6 HDs. And they got a bunch of other stuff on the website. Drip, I can't think of one thing on the website that isn't quality.
All of it's quality. The only thing I use now is the M6 HDs. I have a pair right here with the blue face plates on the pink ones,
the cotton
which
candies.
I really love. I have the white ones right here, actually still in the box. Look at that. Jeep, I think those are yours, buddy.
I think they are. We'd love to have them.
But they also come in black now, which is amazing. They're great. I love them. They're my favorite Joy-Cons. Everything about them is amazing. They have everything the Joy-Cons have and more.
I will say you guys can find their products and more at mopad.com. The link is in our description. You can also check them out on Facebook to follow them over there to see what they're getting up to on Facebook. Stay up to date with what they're releasing, some information. And thank you, Mopad, for sponsoring today's episode. Now, business time. Business time, boys.
Come and get it.
Before we get to all the Switch leaks, images. The words are in some order. You can put them in your whatever order you feel like it. I put them in the wrong order, but whatever.
You did great.
I did great.
That was great.
There's some breaking news, though. We have actual breaking news brought to us by PowerMad, courtesy of PowerMad, brought to you by Nintendo's corporate Twitter account. And this is true breaking news. We just got this report in. We're both dripping our leakers. Jeff, you may have sources. Maybe Jeff's our source. When you guys, you'll never know. Breaking news. Nintendo has announced that they're going to be suing Palworld. More specifically, what's that company's name? Pocket Pair. The company Pocket Pair, the creators of Palworld. Remember that game we all talked about early this year? Way back yonder, that looks like Pokemon with guns, quote unquote. Well, and everyone's like, they're gonna get sued, and then they didn't, and everybody just kind of thought, I guess they're gonna get away with it. Well, guess what?
They're not.
They might, but they're suing. Nintendo is finally suing Pocket Pair. They have a whole statement here. I'm not gonna read it. It's very short, but what it says is Pocket Pair is infringed on their copyrights, and they're gonna protect them. So there's a lawsuit. First thoughts.
Dude, I mean, that's what Nintendo does. I don't know. What did you expect? I mean, the fact that it went so long and nothing happened, you're right. That was kind of whatever. But, I mean, this is what they do. They always do this.
Mm-hmm. Jeff? Anything?
They probably weren't concerned at first. I mean, if I was like the president of Nintendo and like some random company that's made a couple of, what are those, like survival games or whatever that just didn't really go anywhere. Like if they were making a game that was like mine, I'd be like, yeah, all right, like good luck. But it exploded. Yeah, and I think it was probably due to the fact that the Pokemon Company and Game Freak did not release a quality like product the last time they released the game.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people had a lot of fun with Scarlet and Violet, but I know there was like times where like the frame rate dropped to like below 10 frames per second, like like no joke, like
I couldn't even watch him stream
30 frames is people said 30 frames per second is bad. I'm like, no, like 10. It's like it's a slideshow.
Honestly, I would have taken Scarlet Violet at 30 FPS. That was it wasn't hitting 30 FPS. Like it wasn't, at best it was getting close. And it probably average, if someone were to play the game start to finish and just average out their frame rates, I guarantee the frame rate average will be in the ballpark of like the low 20s, maybe even the high teens. Like it's not good at the frame rates. Visually was unimpressive. Like normally you make a sacrifice, right? One or the other frame rates or resolution. It made both sacrifices. It was bad on frame rates, and it was even worse in resolution, textures, and all that other stuff. It was a disgrace. And I get people's love for Palworld because number one, it was the better performing game that Nintendo never released, which is a lot of comments we got when we were going through our Palworld saga on this channel. A lot of people were trying to tell us because apparently we were defending one or the other, and we weren't defending either one really. But they were trying to tell us, you're just jealous because
spoiler alert, I don't give a shit about either of them.
Yeah. Apparently you're just jealous because Nintendo can't put out that kind of game. I'm like, you're not wrong. They couldn't. They didn't for some reason. They really the Pokemon Company, but Nintendo puts a name on it too. Yeah, but all that doesn't matter. And what matters here is we're talking about specifically, they probably stole assets, which we suspected. We couldn't confirm. And I think Nintendo kind of confirmed that they did. There's no way Nintendo would have put this lawsuit out if they didn't know for a fact that at least some of their assets were stolen. That's what took this so long. They were just confirming that there were assets that were actually taken from them.
Well, I'm sure they sat with their lawyers for a long time, and they've had several meetings before this was like, okay, we're going to go ahead and go through this. I mean, they've probably sat and looked, okay, this, that, we have this, we have that. What do we have? And they're compiling a case before they're going to actually, they're not going to waste their money if there's nothing there. Well, I don't know. It's Nintendo. They actually probably would waste their money if there was nothing there just to, because that's the thing. They got Nintendo money. They throw their weight around. Most people can't compete. Like you can't even go to court with Nintendo because they'll just bury you for as long as you can do it till you're out of money and they're not. So, I mean, I don't know. That's the thing about Nintendo taking anybody to court. If you're going to end up there, like I don't know, you're in trouble. You don't fuck with Nintendo. That's the lesson of every one of these stories. Just everybody needs to stop fucking with Nintendo. I don't know how many times they have to prove that they will put you in the ground every time. But they do.
I'm sure this lawsuit's going to take a long time. But I'm just kind of curious what you guys think is going to be the resolution. And let's just say for fun, the resolution is that, Nintendo wins. What happens to Power World? I mean, that game sold like crazy. There's so many people who have that game. I know recently Power World was discussing going free to play or not, and they told their fans that they were not going free to play, so they're staying on the same path that they're on. So I mean, I wonder just at this point what happens to Power World if they lose, which they probably will, because Nintendo doesn't usually sue without probable cause or probable suspicion of them winning. What happens to Power World after this? You guys have any ideas what could happen?
Probably have to remove it from any stores it's in. I don't know. It's what's on Xbox and is it Steam too?
Yeah, it's on Steam. That's where I got it.
Okay, so here's the question.
You get delisted.
Yeah. Delisted for sure.
It was on Game Pass too, I believe. That's what it was one of the selling points of it. It was free with their Game Pass subscription.
Here's the question. Is it going to be like all these other ones where once they do this, then Nintendo ends up owning the assets?
That's what I'm wondering is like...
And then we see some of these fucking things in the next Pokemon game. No. Now that would be some wild shit.
That would be wild. I mean, listen, I said this from the start. Nintendo should just hire these guys. Like, just buy them out. Like,
bring them on to the Game Freak team.
We've said on this podcast for years that Nintendo needs to bring in new talent for Pokemon. It's past due. They need more people working at Nintendo and Pokemon Company for the games. These guys are it. These are the guys to get. Why are we suing them? Unless they're trying to sue, instead of just buying them, what they're trying to do is get them to pay them and then force them to work for them like some sort of weird like labor slave thing or something.
I don't know about that. I don't know what's going to happen with all that.
But listen, it would be so silly.
Breaking news. So
it would be silly if Nintendo. Maybe that's a settlement. Maybe they settle and just like.
We own you.
I just want to see this work out the way I want it to. I want to see Power World guys work for Nintendo, work for the Pokemon Company because they put out a great product. And I think they could do better with Pokemon than Pokemon could do with it. That's how I feel.
Probably true. Especially with the resources. That's the thing. Yes. They don't even have the resources and they did what they did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know what the laws are in Japan because both companies are in Japan.
Ooh.
So
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, Pocket Pair is in Japan, so they don't have to deal with international laws. They have to deal with just Japanese laws. Well, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer in any fashion, especially not a Japanese lawyer, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But who knows what will happen?
That'd be sweet if you were, though.
A Japanese lawyer, Jeff? What do we do? What are you here for, man? Get out of here.
Yo, why am I?
Yeah.
What am I doing?
We brought our friend Jeff, the Japanese lawyer, on to talk about the Switch 2 leaks today.
No, Monica, I am not a lawyer.
Oh no, that's not good.
We've been bamboozled. We've been hoodwinked. We've been deceived. No. Anyway, so yeah, that's the Power thing. That's literally just broke. Obviously, you guys listen to this podcast after the fact. You know, this is for the live stream people. This is breaking news. This just happened minutes ago, really. Interesting stuff. We'll cover it as it happens, I suppose. If we get more news, we'll talk about it later too. But we need to talk about something else because this is the thing we're going to talk about tonight. And
my God, okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm. What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure? Stay calm.
I think if you guys are on the train with Drip, that the thing is coming this week or even in September, I think you guys are sorely mistaken. I think today kind of not put that to bed. It's not happening September. But anyway, what happened today?
You don't know that.
We don't know, but if you guys didn't see, which I think a lot of you have seen, but if you haven't seen already, today, September 18th, in the morning, they dropped images on what website was that, Jeff? That you said?
Oh God, I don't know.
Jeff, I think you said you knew where they got dropped, didn't you?
Well, there was a Reddit.
Oh no, I sent it to you. Never mind. Somebody told me where they were. You said Reddit. Okay, so yeah, they were dropped.
It was a Chinese website somewhere. Yeah, I don't know exactly what the site was, but dude, it's renders of the Switch 2. It's a case of the Switch 2. It's Joy-Con shells of the Switch 2.
Yeah,
the question is it actually stuff from the Switch 2, or is this like the craziest fake out, the craziest troll we've ever seen ever?
Some of this stuff is just stuff that we've already seen in leaks, right? Like the fast storage thing. People have already.
Yeah, I mean, that's We'll get into the specs and stuff.
The specs are interesting too. That's what's interesting.
That's a whole nother thing too. Yeah, there were specs, and then I heard earlier today. I still can't find it, but I actually heard there's a third part to this as well. There's the pictures, the renders, and then there's the specs, which is the second part. But I also heard that the OS was also leaked, and with that, screenshots of the new 3D Mario game. That's going to be coming out with the Switch.
I'm not going to lie, Drip. You told me that earlier as well. I didn't see that, but you told me that. And once you told me that, I started to skew negatively toward these quote leaks. Okay, like
though those came from a different place.
At first, right? But okay. But at first, I saw these images, which we're not going to show you, but just in case there's a chance Nintendo's going to take this down or have an issue with it. I'm not. You guys can see. They're all over the place. They're not going anywhere. You guys can just search Switch 2 leaks. These images are going to come up. They're also in our Discord.
They're also.
So if you want to
say that,
if you want to get in our Discord, feel free. We have the images in there. But we're not going to put
links
those
down below.
So yeah, at first it was just the images, which is like, this is very puzzling. These these seem legit, and then it's like, there's a spec leak as well. Oh, okay. Oh, and then there's a 3D Mario leak as well on top of that. And I'm like, okay, now we're getting ridiculous. Like, now we're just getting, like, who are we going to believe now? Like, did someone just start this train of lies and it just continued on throughout the day, the morning? Or is the first leak legit and then the other two are fake? There's no way that all three of these are real leaks. There's no way. There's no way the specs are real. There's with the case and everything that just showed images wise, and then the 3D Mario image leak as well. There's no way that all three of these are legit leaks. There's no.
I mean,
way.
there is a way. It's not impossible. Probable for them all to be real. No, not impossible though. I don't know about the I don't know about the OS and the Mario thing because I couldn't find it. I searched the internet high and low, and the video that I saw it on was who was it? Commonwealth Realm, and he didn't show any of it because he's like, I'm not showing this. I have a relationship with Nintendo. I'm not going to show this because I'm not an asshole. 1 and 2, I don't want Nintendo to give me a copyright strike. So I didn't see it, but after I heard him talk about it, I went looking for it. I couldn't find it anywhere. So that's the one that I'm like, I don't know. That's the one I'm if somebody shows it to me, if anybody else knows where it's at and that they could share that with us, that would be great. I'd like to see it because that would give me a way better idea to know if it's real or not. And that's the thing too. And you guys would probably agree with me on this. That's probably the easiest thing of all this to fake. Because we've seen that before.
Renders?
No, the OS. Just
the OS leak.
Just a screen. I mean, that's so easy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's
you can mock that up pretty quick.
Any graphic designer with half the skills, as the next guy could do it.
I'm not a graphic designer. I feel like I could do that. One. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, if you can make it that same general, like you said, like close to the first Switch, and then add some color, because I guess that's what he said. It's like it looks like that, but there's more color, and I guess there's
there's no way we can take. There's no just showing us a picture, a screenshot of an OS is not evidence, because anybody can fake it. We need something else, something more different, something more in depth to actually make me believe.
Show it to me on the screen of the Switch 2.
Right, or even just
in a video with your face in it and your ID and your social security number.
We're a note from your grandmother.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's start with the hardware, because that's the biggest thing, I think, and is the most probable that it is real, because there are images and the render images. There are 2 images that I see that are actual pictures. They're real pictures of real pieces of plastic, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But let's first talk about the renders, because that's the easiest to fake of the pictures, obviously, because they're not hiding the fact that they're just renders. Okay, someone made a joke on Twitter that of course this is real Nintendo hardware. There's no anti-aliasing around the edges of the image. That's hilarious. Like they're definitely they're renders. Okay, and people thought they were real. They're not. They're very.
I did see that a few places.
They're very clearly fake. Well, renders, I should say, not fake.
Yeah, they're renders.
They're very convincing renders. These are the most convincing renders. I've used plenty of Switch Pro, Switch 2 renders on this podcast before as thumbnails. This is the most realistic looking device that I've seen, as far as not being too over the top and also not being, too boring or fake looking. Like this looks like what the Switch 2 is going to look like if this is real. Also, it corresponds with the actual pictures of real life stuff. Again, we're not showing the images. I'm looking at them. Jeff and I are looking at these images, and you guys can check them out in our Discord as well, or just do Google search. But these images, the actual pictures do also correlate to the renders. So that's where I stop talking, and this is where you guys start talking now. What are your thought processes?
Go ahead, Jeff.
So like the renders, like from the Reddit post, they made it clear that the guy or the person that created them is a 3D printing and like CAD enthusiast, maybe not an expert. I think some of these are what it looks like a render of the original Switch of like
next to it.
Yes.
What the new one's supposed to look like.
Actual
You can kind of tell that like some of the angles are a little askew. So like someone spent enough time on this to make like a mock-up that is obvious to what like they see when they see like the stuff that they got, which was, from what I understand, a plastic mold of what the device ultimately will look like that's provided to a manufacturer of accessories that they can then use as a reference. So somehow this person got these things, and some of these photos I think are of these things.
Yeah,
especially the one with the Joy-Con molds and then the back plate of the device.
Yeah.
So then they went ahead and made renders of it, and that all looks like, from what I see in these photos and these renders, it all looks like that's exactly what happened. But is it real? I don't know. That's still hard to say.
Okay,
but
for
people
me,
get these things all the time. Like I was saying before the show, like MKBHD will get the mock-ups from. I think he gets them from actually like Apple and stuff. But Nintendo doesn't give these out to people.
No, they don't let people have that stuff. But that, you're right. People do have this, because I'll tell you, I want to go back to something that we talked about a while ago, and not to bring them up again, but the sponsor of today's video decided that they were going to just go ahead and put a bunch of stuff on their website about the Switch 2.
Yeah, so Mopad, who is our sponsor of the episode, unrelated to that, released a bunch of information about the Switch 2 a month or two ago. And it's
more than that. Was it? Well, like 3 months ago.
They stated in their leak that they had knowledge of the Switch 2 via some other third party, and one of the big things they touted some specs which also align with the spec sheet we're going to read off in a minute. But they also touted the big thing, magnetic Joy-Cons, which this system is magnetic. You can see in the real pictures. Where the magnets would line up and everything.
Well, no, you can see that if you look. If you look at the picture where like the back plate or whatever, or the whatever it is, the front, whatever that is with the chip and the board there. Mm-hmm. If you look on the sides there, you can see a top piece of metal and a bottom piece of metal on each side. I'm guessing those are the magnets. Those would be the electromagnets right there that attached to the Switch.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff I actually want to talk about with that part of it in general. This is something that a company like that would need for sure to have, because these are completely different than what we have right now. And if they're going to be putting stuff out anytime soon in the life of this system, obviously they're going to need this stuff. And I mean, this is what you would get. It's basically, if you look at the other one, the Joy-Cons, it's like a picture of the Joy-Cons from the side. Yeah. And you can see the SL and SR buttons there. They are much bigger, which that's very cool.
And in that specific picture, you can see the spot directly in the middle that has pins. That's where it would communicate, right? And then the two things above and below those pins, which is probably where the magnet
Well, maybe. I'm not sure about that. Because if you look at the other picture, it looks like the magnets might actually, and I said this, I don't know if it's right, but I said that they might actually use the SL and SR buttons as the magnets. And it looks, if you look at where it lines up, where those magnets on the inside are, kind of lines up with the buttons.
I suspect there could be like magnets that are just simple magnets, and then like there's a connection point as well. So the buttons might be the magnets, but then there's a separate connection point in the middle that like would actually transfer data, hard connection.
Oh yeah,
to
that's
switch.
what Jeff was just saying. Yeah, you can see the pins inside that one there. There's definitely another connection in the center.
RGT called that a cartridge slot. He's like, is that a cartridge slot? Looks like a cartridge slot. I don't know, dude.
It's effectively the same.
Yeah. Does he have any info? Does he know anything? Like, dude.
Yeah,
like,
I watched every. I usually don't.
Connection points. RGT.
Everybody's
Connection
videos
points.
on this today. Yes, he also said something about the holes in the top. He's like, that's weird. Why are there holes there? But if you look at the other pictures, it's very simple to see why there are holes there. That is where the buttons are to release the Joy-Cons. They're bigger, and if you notice in the 3D renders, the buttons, instead of being push in, they're kind of pull out, because instead of pushing in and sliding up, you're going to be pulling these things out, which makes a lot of sense because they're not on rail systems anymore. You can definitely tell these things they don't go down on, they go straight in.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, if you think about it and you look at these, this is definitely going to be something that you can hold on to, and it's not going to have that switch flex. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Like it goes deep inside the sides of the switch, deep enough to where it's going to have like a really good solid connection. So they've clearly thought about this long enough and hard enough.
Well, let me say this. Let me say this quickly, because the more we're talking about this, the more I'm looking at these pictures. It goes beyond just like looking at them thinking, are they real or not? We're analyzing them here. We're kind of sitting here talking about things, how it could actually work. This would have to be one of the best fakes of all time, because we can see in these images the actual engineering that went on. And like, you can sit here and tell me that like some guy with a 3D printer could think about all this stuff like this in a logical manner? No, that's why Nintendo does it, because they pay people to do that, not some guy with a 3D printer. Like, I was already leaning that this was real. At least the images here. These images are there. It would be improbable if this wasn't real. Now, is this a Switch 2 though? I mean, that is a question we still don't know. This could be just that. This is very much these images are not polished, finished pieces of plastic. This is a very obvious prototype. So
I have information
is this
on that.
Just a prototype of another prototype of like a final version that we don't know, or is this like the next best thing to the like? Is this the prototype before they design, like they polish?
This is a prototype from 2023.
So this is okay. So
because it says X6 on it somewhere. I saw a video earlier. They zoom in. There was leaks about this thing a long time ago. This lines up perfectly with that. This is a prototype. This may not be the final design though. We don't know that for sure. Like that this is what it's going to look like. This is a prototype from 2023. I do know that. It lines up with everything that was leaked at that time with the X6. And if you zoom in on that board somewhere, I'm not sure exactly where it's at, but it has a little X6 logo on it. The final version, from what if I'm remembering this correctly, should be the version X8. That should be what is actually being manufactured right now and shipping out.
Because this version looks real rough. Like this is very much not like just.
Oh
before
yeah, well these
are
are shells.
Mm-hmm.
This is clearly somebody like MobaPad. Oh my gosh.
So in the Reddit post, they specifically word it like this. We try to find the actual quote.
What did you? Oh my gosh, Drip.
I'm just looking at this table that it's sitting on. I'm just
okay. What about the table makes you say, "Oh my gosh"?
I've had a company send me photos of their prototypes that were sitting on a table very similar to that. I don't know. I'm just going back in some messages.
You maybe shouldn't have said that. You tell me after the show. I don't want to get you in trouble.
3,000 different companies make light wood tables that look exactly like
yeah,
that.
I know.
But Drip, could you
um,
say that your sources indicate that these images are based on some sort of fact?
Hold on.
He's got the magnifying glass out right now.
I'm going back. Hold on, I'm going back in messages.
Is this the same table? Is this the same? What about that scratch over there in the corner?
So, what I was saying before, the quote, so the source from Fami Boards is saying the original poster said they obtained a shell model from an accessory manufacturer, quote unquote, at great cost.
That's
so
what I thought you were talking about. Sorry, Jeff. I'm sorry.
I can only imagine. Yeah, the classic light wood veneer.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I saw that and I was like, I've seen that before. It's not bin block. They didn't do it. They didn't leak it.
Okay.
I'm sorry. It's not
so when I see at great cost, I can only imagine that's why it's in such rough shape. Because someone really had to do a lot of work to get it out of wherever. I mean, if these are real, someone had to have done a lot of work to get these out of wherever they were to get them in this person's hands.
Yeah, I mean,
which is why they're all scratched up and scuffed up.
Right.
Yeah, they're scuffed up bad. And now someone asked earlier, if this was going to be the color of this nasty. This is probably not the color.
Oh, dirty scuffed up gray. Yeah, that's
dirty scuffed up gray. I'm thinking
signature.
That's a hell of a choice if that's what they're going with. I mean, that's a bold choice for sure.
The original Switch Joy-Cons were either a very similar gray or red and blue.
Right. Yeah. Well, so stuff that came out, what was that, yesterday, day before? I don't remember, is saying that there were leaks saying that the new Joy-Cons are going to be black and white. So, I mean, take that for what you want to take it for. I don't know. I think these are real. I think the photos are real. I mean, I don't see how they're not. There's just too much there for them to not be.
These are absolutely photos of real things that exist in the real physical space that we live in.
Yeah, and
are they real for what they are? I don't know.
And Jeff, to feed off your train there, I feel like based off of observing at these images for more than 2 seconds, and for us to discuss them as we just did, talking about how these were engineered to work. Someone didn't just 3D. Someone had to engineer these things. Well, whether it's good or bad, we don't know. We're not trying it out ourselves. But clearly there was some thought put into this, more than just some guy who's like, I have 3D design background. I can make up some renders here, and then I can also I have a 3D printer and a program where I can put all this data in there. It's very different. Like making an image for a render is much different than 3D printing it out and making it make sense, which these images of the actual images do make sense. You can see how this would work. There's missing parts. They're just shells. There's a small motherboard in there. It's missing plenty of other pieces. But it does look like the way the Joy-Cons attached to the Switch itself looks like it's been engineered in some form or fashion. More than just some guy with a 3D printer and a 3D background. Image background. I think I'm 99% certain that these are real. Now, is this the Switch 2?
No.
I can tell you right now, it was a prototype version. I think we can 99.9% tell you right now that these images are a prototype version, but that does not mean that this is what it's going to look like or function. Because one thing we need to talk about quickly is there's an extra button on these Joy-Con. It's on the right side of the Joy-Con. It's a square button. And you might say that that's just the screenshot button, but there's also a square button on the left Joy-Con as well. So there's 2 square buttons, and somebody theorized that there was just 2 screenshot buttons.
No,
that's a silly assessment. No offense, whoever said. I forget who said.
Jeep, I'm gonna go ahead and leak something right now.
Leak it, Drip. Leak it.
I will leak it. That extra button is actually for exactly what you wanted for the Switch 2 to do. That is the button you press so you can connect to your dock and have your second screen in your hand and your main screen on your TV. That is what that button does. It connects to the dock. So you're getting your Wii U in the Switch. It is the Switch U. It's actually not called the Switch 2. It's called the Switch U.
The new Super Nintendo Switch U Deluxe.
Yes. The U2.
Oh no.
Call me David Blaine.
It comes with YouTube albums pre-installed also, which is cool.
Oh no.
I'm Jeeves
Super
Blaine.
cool. Yeah. No, I don't know. I don't know what that extra button's for.
I don't know.
But it could be something like that. I mean, why not?
I'll tell you what this button is. I know what it is. I'm a leaker.
Okay, what is it?
It's a prototype button that does something.
It's for prototyping.
It's for
more screenshots.
It's for prototyping.
Yeah, it's so when you're pressing your screenshot button and you want to make more screenshots.
No, yeah. You know when you accidentally press the screenshot button? Now you can just do it twice as fast.
You can do it twice.
You know how you hate all your extra screenshots that you make by mistake and don't delete them and go back one day and take an hour and delete them? Well, now you can double and triple the screenshots to piss yourself off even more. Love it.
I like Coffee with Games thing here. It's the time travel button.
Yeah. Oh,
I don't know if you mean it in the way that
Animal Crossing.
For maybe for like Nintendo Switch Online, instead of having to press button combos or something, you press one button and it will do it. I mean,
the time traveling. I mean, maybe it's a button you can just set to go to whatever. Maybe it's like a programmable button that you can make it set to. I mean, who knows? Who knows? It could be anything. I mean, I don't know. I think they're real. Another thing that just seems too good to be true, but we got to go over it. The specs.
Yeah.
All these specs. Yeah. Now, really quickly, I'm going to run down all this stuff just so we can have all of this here. And then there's another version of this list that's going to kind of break it down for us. But I'm going to tell you what these specs are. Okay. So the shipping list, details summary. We have, these are numbers I'm not going to say. Okay, we got the game console itself, left Joy-Con controller, right Joy-Con controller, dock. Now, the detailed stuff, the SoC, the CPU plus GPU is modeled GML X30-R-A1. We'll get to what that is in a minute. This is an interesting one. This is very interesting. Memory model, I'm not going to say the big model number. 6GX2, so dual channel, LPDDR5X 700. I mean, okay, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. We kind of know what that is. Flash memory, 256 gigabytes of UFS 3.1. Yep, 3.1. That is big. That's big. That's what we talked about. That's that Samsung stuff. That's that super fast stuff.
Yeah.
So that's cool too.
I heard somewhere that software, that 3.1 speed, is going to be somewhere between like the Series S and a PS5.
Yes, we're going to get into all that. I have all that information. Next thing on the list, the audio chip, whatever, who cares? NFC, who cares? Built-in microphone. There's a microphone in this thing, built in. So that's kind of, I'm guessing that's for like voice chat.
Yeah, it's for Nintendogs, so you can.
Yes, they're going to put it into games. Yes,
sit.
They're going to put it in games. But PlayStation puts that in their DualShock controllers too. They have a microphone in there. So that's cool. I'm sure it's going to be used for voice chat and stuff too. Dual cooling fans. Another thing we heard, 2 cooling fans. That was a leak a couple months ago we heard, or last month, whatever. I can't keep track at this point. Copper gaming heatsink. Video signal conversion. DisplayPort to HDMI. I don't know what this stuff is. It supports HDMI 2.1.
Jeff, do you know which one is? Do you know what the Switch has, and do you know what this one is? I'm not familiar with the HDMI versions.
It does not have HDMI 2.1, does it?
No, the OLED dock has, I think, the chip on it is capable of doing 2.0. I think.
Okay.
For the OLED dock, the old one, I think it could be 2.0, but it might be 1.4. Okay. I mean, the Switch only did 1080p docked anyway, so.
That's what I was wondering. I'm assuming this is going to support 4K no matter what.
Could. Yes, I mean, 2.1 is also like VRR and all those other things that like really help out how well it looks on the TV.
Right.
So, I mean, it could be to do with that too.
Okay.
So we have a gigabit Ethernet chip. What else?
Welcome to 2024.
Yes. Yeah. Well, hey, listen, it's better than what they had.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, I'm
sure it's the same exact thing that's in the OLED dock with the network port. I mean,
yeah,
gigabit is gigabit no matter what you put in there. So it's
right.
Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, the case. It's just talking about the case, speakers. Okay, that's basically the spec list there. So there's a lot of numbers here. a lot of this is hard to explain, but I have some other stuff. Okay. So from these alleged specs, it looks like handheld right now, based on the specs that we have, the things we know about, the things that we have seen, I think there's more stuff that we didn't actually have in this, but it looks like handheld, supposedly we should be looking at something around what a PS4 looks like, but that is going to be before DLSS. So that's before the upsampling.
Raw power.
Yes, raw power. We're looking at something around, and that's handheld.
Impressive. That's impressive.
That's handheld.
That's real.
Steam Deck.
Let's talk about that. That's impressive.
That's a Steam Deck with DLSS, right?
Right. Yeah. So before any enhancements from, from machine learning algorithms and all that stuff, like before all that, it'll be probably as good as a Steam Deck.
And that is a Steam Deck is chunky, and we'll get to the sizing of the thing in a second. But like, a Steam Deck is a chunky boy, okay? And this switch to
Steam Deck is also an x86 processor that's much bigger, so that's why everything is so big.
Yeah, so
everything's much bigger inside of this. So
yeah. I'm impressed with that. That's okay. You could say it's like a Steam Deck, but it's better than that, really.
Now, docked, supposedly, this is going to be somewhere between a PS4 Pro and an Xbox Series S. That is also before DLSS.
I think you got that backwards for what it means. A Series, because PS4 Pro is better than a Series S, right? Wouldn't the PS4 Pro be better than the Series S? No, really?
Xbox Series S is Xbox Series S is better than the PS4 Pro. Would go against the Xbox One X. The Series S is better than the One X.
I just thought, because people keep telling me like, oh, because I don't have either one, the PS5 or PS4. People keep telling me, oh, it's so similar to the PS5. So I just assume that like the PS4 Pro is very similar to the PS5.
I had a PS4 Pro.
Then the Series S would be okay. So you're telling, okay, I didn't know that.
Okay, so it's between a PS4 Pro and an Xbox Series S, and that's again before DLSS. So again, that's docked. That's pretty impressive from Nintendo. I mean, it's gonna look good if this is real. It's gonna look really good. So moving on a little bit, and then we can discuss after here. The RAM is gonna be slower than PS5 and Xbox Series X and S in the speed department, but more capacity than Xbox Series S. It should have 10.5 to 11 gigs of RAM available to games. So it's supposed to have 12, but they're basing this off of the OS that the Switch takes up. Right. The actual Switch OS. They're basing it off. How much that takes on it. So I mean, you got to think. What is the Switch? How much RAM does the Switch have? 4 gigs?
Yep.
That's fucking insane. That's gonna go to like 10.5 to 11 at this point. Like that's insane. Like the jump that this thing is gonna be from Switch 1 to Switch 2 is good. If this is real, and I'm gonna talk about that after this too. It's gonna be insane. Okay, the storage. That's the thing we talked about. This is what we brought up a long time ago. The UFS storage, the 3.1 stuff with the high speeds and stuff that Samsung is making. This is supposedly Nintendo was rumored to be the company that they were doing the big deal with. I think if this is real, obviously we know that's right. It should be a little bit slower than the Series S and X. Potentially
marginally, really.
Yeah,
it says 2.1 versus 2.4 gigabits per second. It says gigabytes. I think they mean gigabits.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's marginal difference.
Yeah. And then where are we at on there? I need to go to the next one here. This last one, I don't even know what the hell this means. This switch to ARM based rather than x86. What the hell does that even mean? That is way over my head.
I'll let Jeff tell you.
Yeah. So x86 is the architecture that a lot of computer processors are based on. So AMD and Intel, I think AMD was the inventor of it. I could be wrong, but AMD and Intel processors are all x86 processors. Now ARM processors are different architecture, so it's the way that the processors are designed is completely different. So you can't. So it's the same thing like if you ever used well, I guess a smartphone, I guess.
Have I used one before?
I've used one, I think, maybe. Okay.
It'd be hard to find a person in a lot of the world that hasn't used a smartphone. They're all ARM processors because the processors can be smaller. They're very battery efficient.
Okay.
And at this point in time, ARM processors, the way that they've been developed, are very powerful too. So like Apple, all of Apple computers, even their Macs, desktops, laptops are all ARM.
The M chips.
And those are like almost like for power per watt, they're unmatched. Like there are Intel and AMD processors that will outperform them like power wise. But my M1 Mac Mini, the TDP on it is 15 watts, not 65, 90, 100 something like
way
a
more power,
desktop PC.
Inefficient.
15.
All right. So then that makes the rest of this make a lot more sense to me. So what they're saying is this is basically NVIDIA's ARM stuff versus AMD. We're talking about actual mobile stuff versus
like a Steam
what
Deck,
AMD
Jeff.
makes, which is more what the PlayStation, Xbox, PCs have.
Well, let's compare it to a Steam Deck, right? Because the Steam Deck is the AMD, that's the x86, isn't it?
Yes.
And that's why it's bigger.
So that's the big difference between the two.
Steam Deck is bigger,
Yeah.
Because you could pack a lot more power in an ARM chip in a much smaller space.
Yeah, that's why that's why the iPad Pros and everything are so thin and so powerful. The Macs are so powerful and so battery efficient because of those ARM processors that Apple developed.
All right. So
if you look inside of a MacBook Air, it's like 90% battery.
Yeah, it's
the
crazy.
Logic board and the processor is like
really?
tiny.
Yeah, it's all battery, dude. Yeah.
It's almost all battery. It's battery in the speakers and like that's it. Like the Logic board's like this big and there's a processor on it and then there's like a
I wonder what the inside of my iPad Pro looks like.
Similar.
Oh, it's the same.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a giant
apples,
battery.
Speaking of apples, to finish this up, whoever did this is saying that this is not an apples to apples comparison because we're talking about two completely different things. And now I know what that is. We're talking about basically smartphone processing style versus PC process. Like these are two different things. So what they're saying is it's hard to actually compare the two, but this is kind of the best description that we're going to get of it. But saying, the tensor cores, which are what's going to give it the ability to do the DLSS, is going to let it punch above its weight. So if this is real, and we're going to talk about that, if this is real, this thing is going to be a fucking beast. Like, holy shit, the Switch 2 is going to be an absolute monster.
Because there's people already saying like, oh, a Series S and a PS4? You lame nerds. I'm going to buy the PS5 Pro for $700, $800. And I'm going to, and it's going to be so much more powerful than your stupid Nintendo Switch 2. A burp-a-derp-a-derp. And
to be fair, yes, that's right.
It is correct.
It's true.
It's correct.
It's true, but
they're not apples to apples comparisons. Nintendo has shifted in their ideology or gaming wise, and they're going toward it is a hybrid system, but the focus is on the handheld. If the focus was going to be on the docked portion, we would see a much bigger, fatter device. This is very catered toward a handheld device. They've almost gotten out of the home console business without selling anybody and tricking people into saying it's a hybrid, when in reality it is a hybrid, but it's
basically a tablet.
Yeah, it's not a gaming home console anymore. It's a handheld device that does show that you can play on your TV. That's what it is, and you can't compare it to a PS5 like that. And people who are doing it, it's silly to do so. It's a different device. It is. Like I had somebody we had our PS5 Pro episode last week, did really well, and we had some people got really angry in the comments, not at us, at each other, which was funny to watch.
No, they're still fighting right now.
Yeah, they're still doing it.
Still happening.
But some of the things that they were saying, so the PS5 camp, because we had the PS5 camp and Nintendo Switch camp arguing, but the PS5 camp was like, Nintendo's got to compete with Sony, man. They got to do something to actually compete. And then the Nintendo guy was like, they are competing. And in fact, it's the other way around. Sony's got to compete with Nintendo, which I happen to agree with, really. Not just because I'm a Nintendo homer, but I agree that Sony and Microsoft need to compete with Nintendo. And like just because the PS5 and Xboxes can push more frames and high resolution than the current Nintendo Switch model doesn't mean that they're not competing, that Nintendo's not competing with them. It's really the other way around, guys. Like you got it so backwards over there in the comments.
Right now, yeah. I mean, Nintendo fucking crushed both of them this generation. Fucking crushed them.
Like, what are your parameters? Like, That's like saying like you got the running a marathon and somebody won the marathon. They got first place, but they took more breaths. So and the other guy did it more efficiently because he took less breaths. Therefore, he won. But it's like, what are you talking about? Like the guy got first place. Nintendo's doing just fine. Okay, like they're in fact they're doing better than Sony in a lot of ways, and Xbox is laughable compared to Nintendo right now. So I don't know what that guy's talking about. Anyway.
Well, let me ask you guys this. We've just gone over all those specs. They're impressive. Lots of it's cool. I understand a lot more about it now. I'm glad I know that stuff now. Do you think they're real?
I'll start. I'll let Jeff think about it. Oh, no, I'm sure he's already decided. The specs you're talking about?
The specs.
Yes.
Just what I just read off.
I don't know if they're based on fact. But is that what Nintendo should do and probably will do? Yeah.
So you think they're real?
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, there's so much thought into all this stuff. This is not just, although we have been kind of developing it as a community for a long time now. So it's not just one guy just thought about one day, posted it. Like these specs have been repeated multiple times, and
that's what I'm saying.
It's been perfected to where we might have just gotten to the truth without basing it in any fact. But I feel like this is what has to be the Switch 2 specs. It has to be. Jeff, these are
what do you think?
Excellent.
The specs, a lot of the stuff like you could make up easy. Like, of course, it's gonna have an audio chip. Of course, it's gonna have NFC reader if Nintendo decides to continue selling Amiibo. Like, a lot of the stuff makes sense. But when you Google any of these model numbers, if these are real things that exist, it should prompt anything but just Nintendo Switch 2 leaks.
And does it?
Like, no, that's all I get. I mean, of course, the news cycle is slammed with it. So
yeah, that's true.
It might be a little bit difficult for me right now to find anything else. But like, even if you just select parts of those model numbers and try to search it, like the companies don't have a brand new, completely unique model number for every single thing they make.
For like a speaker or like right. Even the little stuff. Yeah. Okay.
Like the memory module MT6, there's probably an MT62 something else if that does exist. And it's, I don't know. That's hard, but
give me a yes or no. Is it real?
I think that part of this comes from something that is fact, but I do not think these are real model numbers.
Okay.
I don't think these are real.
I kind of agree with you.
Here's my issue with all of it. My issue with this entire thing is, like you said, this is all stuff that is from separate leaks as we've gone through this year, last year. This is all stuff that we've heard. Everything. There's not a new thing here. That's the big red flag to me. There's not a new thing. There's not something we didn't know about. It's all the stuff we wanted. It's literally everything we wanted. Let me ask you this. Do you think for a second that this Nintendo Switch 2 is going to come out and it's just going to Nintendo's just finally going to give us exactly what we've all been asking for?
Yes, please. Please.
Because when has that ever
I want this so bad.
Ever
this
happened?
Is so good. It's exactly what we want. It's exactly what we want.
Exactly. That's what scares me.
I know.
That's what I'm scared about.
Just let me be happy.
It is 100% what I would want a Switch 2 to be. This is what I would want it to be.
Don't crush my dreams. Don't bring fact into this. Don't bring logic. I want to be happy.
It is. The specs scare me. I want to believe they're real because that's exactly what I want. I'm scared. I'm scared to believe it. I'm scared to get excited about it. And that's the thing. That's where I want to go next too. We've talked about this, Jeeb. You and I talked about this earlier. All this stuff coming out. Let's say this is real. Let's say it's all real. We haven't seen Nintendo strike anything down yet. If they start striking shit down, then we know. That's confirmation right there. The shit's real.
Yeah, but again,
they haven't.
Is Nintendo going to do that though? To show their hand?
Yeah, is Nintendo going to do that? But my question is now, and I want to have this discussion: does this force their hand in any way? If let's say they are thinking about, like, they had their whole plan, their entire thing was, we're announcing this thing in October, or we're announcing it next February. Does this force their hand in any way? If this is all real, does this force their hand to move it up and try to get out ahead of this?
Jeff?
No. I don't know if you guys play any Bethesda RPGs, but no matter what for Bethesda, no matter what ever happened, all you ever see is one person from Bethesda go on Twitter and say, just remember that leaks aren't confirmed unless we say they're real. And Nintendo's like the same way. Nintendo will not scramble to say, oh yeah, that's real, this is the thing. Nintendo already has a plan to show us what they're going to show us, when they're going to show us. They will not budge because someone on Reddit was like, I made these things. Yeah, the renders or whatever.
Right.
Like, they're not going to budge.
Jeeb, what do you think?
Well, let me ask Jeff a question, though. So you said that they're not going to budge because some guy made the renders. Are you saying that they're based in fact, like, and Nintendo wouldn't budge the factual renders because they have a plan? Or would Nintendo budge if they were real? Because, oh, shit. Because Drip and I talked on the phone earlier, we're talking about this. Like, people are taking this all directions right now. People could take this in a negative direction. People could take this in a positive direction. They could be low on it. This could make them want to buy it even more. It could make them want to buy it even less. And Nintendo doesn't want all that flack. They only want us to believe and think what they want us to think.
They need to control the narrative.
They want to control
what
the
this
narrative.
thing is about.
That's what they always do.
That's the question I really have. Yeah.
So this could push their hand because if this is real, or even if it isn't real, doesn't really matter that much. If it's even close to what they're going to be putting out the Switch 2, this could push their hand because they want to control that narrative. They don't want people to think one thing that they don't want them to think or the other. Like, they want them to only think what they want them to think. So they could be like, listen, guys, we need to act right now. I saw a tweet again. The room's on fire. Nintendo of America and Nintendo right now is on fire right now. The PR stuff, because all this stuff happening. And someone said, they're not on fire right now. It's whatever. They do whatever they want. But I think they could very well be on fire right now because they're not controlling the narrative. The internet's controlling the narrative. Reddit's controlling the narrative. They want to control their console, not some random leaker. True or not
remember
true.
something else. It's very strange. They finally did tweet something in the evening. They were just silent all day. They tweet like every single hour on the hour normally. They were just dead ass silent today. That was weird.
That is a little weird.
That was so weird.
Yeah, and their tweet is, "Hey guys, we're suing Pal World."
Yeah. That wasn't even theirs. They the only thing they put up today was that it was at like 5 o'clock. They reposted IGN's final look at Echoes of Wisdom. Yeah, that's the only thing they've posted today. But okay, so yeah, here's the thing. Yeah, and I think you kind of said this, G, too. But like the people, that's the thing. People are taking this so many different ways. You already said that, but like, if they don't get control of this, if this does get out of hand and we start getting people going one way with it, like, this is awesome, this is great, and then it comes out and it's not what they wanted, they're gonna be bummed, and it's gonna be like, what the hell? Like, thought it was this, thought it was that.
Like,
and
it's gonna. What if they put out like a 3DS clamshell device and called
like,
this,
and what if this goes until? Just think about it. What if this goes until? Yeah, like, what if this goes until February and everybody thinks this is real and like, oh my God, look at this. Or the people who don't like it think it's real too, and they're just gone. They're done. Like, whatever. I'm spending my money somewhere else. And then they announce this thing and it's like, it's killed so much. I mean, I feel I agree with you what you're saying, Jeff. They have a plan, and it's going to take a whole lot to get them to deviate from that plan.
But this could force their hand, not necessarily in the full announcement. This could force their hand something else, to change their plans,
to say something.
But if they were only going to wait till February to say they're going to release it in May or whatever, now they could go, well, maybe we say something in October or even in September.
It's gonna be May.
Sorry.
They could be forced to say something now, not release it. Just be like, give us a nugget, like I always say, they
did with the NX.
Right, they could just give us a nugget now, because maybe
they kind of did already. They kind of gave us that nugget.
They said the Switch successor exists and we're making it.
And it's going to be released in the quarter year or whatever, in the fiscal year. Yeah, but like this could force their hand to give us another nugget because maybe they were waiting till February to do anything. I think that's a plausible thing they could do is be waiting until 2025. And February makes sense. But what if they're like, oh shit, well we got to say something in 2024 now. We have to because we need to control this narrative. We need to shift this narrative in the direction we want it to. Because what if they tweet tomorrow morning, or not that they're going to, but what if they tweet tomorrow morning like, hey.
You don't know that. They might.
A swipe, like a light swipe on a black border of just like 2 screens. And they're like, coming 2025. And that's it. Like something stupid like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like something.
I mean, holy shit. Now that would light the place on fire.
Because what they want, because again, that's the thing. Like they only want to, let's say the device is a clamshell device. And this is all bullshit. And what their device is actually completely different. And they want to show us that. Because
God, yesterday there were other rumors that this thing had 2 screens.
Right. So again, they're like, well, we want people to know. It's not that bad if we just tell people that it has 2 screens, and it's going to really shift the narrative. And this is from us, not from Reddit. So let's just put something out there to make them believe what we want them to believe.
Especially if this is way off, and they're talking. Like, holy fuck, this is not even close. Right. Like, oh god.
That's my example. Is that what if this is way off, and it is way off, and they want to just. They want to channel people in the direction.
There's just so many things. It's just
it's so perfect. But let's go back to this. This is so perfect. This really is. The spec sheet's perfect. The device was to be it was an 8-inch screen. We didn't talk about that. It's an 8-inch screen, but the chassis is only marginally bigger than like the original Switch chassis. It is bigger. It's going to be more like a Steam Deck in terms of size, but the borders are small on the screen, so it's going to be a really compact device. A compact 8-inch handheld device.
Did you see how thick it is?
And it's super thin. It is super
14
thin.
millimeters.
It's super thin.
I think that's thinner than the current Switch, isn't it?
I think so. I don't know that for fact.
Look at that. Nintendo's trying to be Apple out here, man. Nintendo's like, check it out.
This is this device is
15% thinner.
If this is not if this is what Nintendo's not putting out, this is exactly what they need to shift to immediately, because this is perfect. And they can there could be some weird gimmick that we don't know about yet.
I think that's the thing.
The leak here mentions that there's a USB-C port on the top.
Yes, that's what I was getting at.
I want to talk about that. Yes, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Several things about that. One, obvious, very obvious, charging while it's in tabletop mode. Clearly, that's what that's there for. I would imagine that's like number one use. But I feel like Nintendo doesn't just throw something like that on there just for that reason. I feel like that's got something else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Any ideas? I bet that's just in case you're low on battery and you need to connect with 2 screens. You can just connect it to your dock like that to charge it or to
bringing back the connecting cable thing from the Game Boy.
The Game Boy
cable, Wi-Fi.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sit awkwardly next to your friend with a cable connected.
Yes, it'll be really cool. Sit very close.
Honestly, I think it's way more simple than that. Of course, it could be used for accessories, and that's to be seen. Whether it's first party, third party, we'll know later. But I think it's more simple than that. I think it's just to charge. It's just. Because like charging,
it comes out at the top, and it kind of makes more sense if you're holding it while you're plugged in.
Yeah.
Than to be on the bottom, like the Dreamcast controller was kind of awkward in that sense, and the cord came out the bottom.
Yeah.
Oh, even when you're playing, like, I mean, you guys know, playing Switch, plugged in, like in bed, and it's just the cable.
Yeah, it's a bad spot.
Hitting you in the chest.
Options.
It's a pain in the ass.
It's options,
I mean, I like that. I really just wanted you guys to just have more fun with me and tell me it's for something else crazy.
It's for one of those slime gooey lights that you put in your Game Boy.
Oh, hell
like
yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm sold.
For the magnifying lens light.
Yes. Except for on the Switch, they don't need a light or magnifying because it's a big, beautiful screen. What they need is some sort of projector because it's going to interact with the game, right? It's going to put Lucky in 3D in front of you, like project Lucky.
Hey, think about that though. Let's think about that for a second.
Lucky right there. He's a little hologram.
No. That's you're onto something.
No, you're onto. Yeah. I was gonna say you're onto something. Maybe
because think about like Labo. Think about Labo. But we're not talking about cardboard here. We're talking about an accessory, something that Nintendo does to make the thing interesting, but it actually plugs in and does something. Or VR. Some type of headset
VR
that needs more power
well.
or something that it's...
Plug your headset in a convenient spot. I mean, yeah. VR I see more than anything, actually, now you bring that up.
I don't know. I mean, it could be anything. You could use it for a lot more stuff, and you have another accessible port that's in a different place, especially if you're using it for an accessory. And I say Labo, but it could be anything.
Yeah.
But you don't want it plugged into the bottom. Whatever it would be on top. Who knows? Maybe there's a second screen. Maybe the Switch attach plugs in right there.
No,
and
not
that's
the Switch attach again. Oh.
Yes, I'm bringing it back. It's the Switch attach. That's the thing that they're gonna. It's awful. That's what's coming. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be the Switch attach. It's $150 more. You could pop it on there. So when you're away from home and you want to use that same mode that they added in, that you can use your TV and your Switch, you can put the Switch attach on there and you can still have two screens when you're away from home. You're welcome.
It costs $400.
I've solved the entire mystery. No, it doesn't. It's $150. So total to get the entire thing, it's $550. Yes, it's $550.
I can see it now. A screen hanging off of your Switch via the USB-C port and ripping that port right out.
It would need something else. Obviously, it would come. Come around and
use some plastic clips and stuff.
Yeah, You're probably right. It's not what it is. I'm just. Come on, guys. Come on, work with me here. I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's cool that it's there. I hope it's real. Is it real? We don't know. We'll know tomorrow when they tell us.
They're not.
Honestly, the only thing that I'm convinced of is that Nintendo's going to have a custom system on a chip made by NVIDIA. It's going to be a much smaller process than the Tegra X1 is, and that's all I know. That's all that's all I can.
We could bank
all I can really say that I know for sure.
Well, we had a question.
It's the only way you're going to.
Go ahead, Jeff. Sorry.
Go ahead. The only way that it's going to be as powerful as a PS4 in handheld and be that thin is if you're making the processor smaller.
Yeah.
And the only way you can get that power and that battery life is to be able to make everything else smaller and fit a big battery in there. If you're putting two cooling fans in there, there's less room for batteries.
Yeah. We talked about this last week. I don't think there's two cooling fans in the Switch unit. I think there's one in the dock. I don't think there's two inside the Switch too.
No, it says there's two in the unit.
No,
that's what it
says. Two smaller fans.
Yeah, it's saying there's two in the.
No, that's wrong.
The dock wouldn't really make sense to me.
Okay. I think it. Well, okay, hold on.
It's saying there's two fans in this. That I've seen that several places today.
I didn't realize that. So two fans in that would, like what Jeff was just saying, that would take way too much room up because you need as much room as possible in this thing. And why would they put
two smaller fans? It could be two smaller fans juxtaposed, be on the sides of the heat pipe, and then the heat pipe would come up to the fans and blow out the top or the bottom or whatever.
Yeah. That's not
okay. A few things in the chat here. You guys were talking about questions. A couple people asked in the chat if there is a headphone jack. There is a headphone jack in these renders, and it looks like in the. Let me check the. There's nothing really there to see, but it does look like there. Yeah.
Yeah, the headphone jack is right next to the USB.
And there's a spot, and there's a spot in the actual picture there, the hole for the headphone jack. So yes, there is a headphone jack. It looks like there's still a headphone jack, and it's right next to the USB-C. And you know what these renders look like? If you look at the top of this render, you know what it's shaped like almost exactly?
What?
A Switch Lite.
That is, yeah, you're right. You're right about that. It does
look a lot like a Switch Lite.
Osha has a good something here in the chat. This is something we all really did forget about, but we're going to hold Nintendo accountable. We want to know. Remember when they added the dock update option in settings?
Yeah.
Has there ever been an update? No.
I don't think so.
No, they added it and then done nothing with it, which is very weird.
It'd be separate from the OS update, the firmware update. It'd be its own firmware for the dock, and I don't think I remember hearing anything about a firmware update for the dock yet.
Yeah, I don't remember that either.
I think,
but to add the functionality into the dock now, and then not worry about it later. Nintendo's doing a lot of things now that I think other companies are going to start trying to do. And if they are doing it now and then start to do it well, they'll be way ahead. I like I said before, one thing I'm convinced of is that Nintendo's going to have an NVIDIA processor. It's going to be built on a smaller process with a smaller chip.
For sure.
I'm also convinced that Sony and Microsoft are both going to have ARM-based processors in their consoles within the next 2 generations.
You think so?
It only makes sense.
Over.
Oh, 2. That's a long time, Jeff. 2 generations. I think next gen.
Yeah.
Really? I mean, look at what Apple's doing with the Macs, man. That's their full Mac computers have ARM processors.
The thing is, Apple switched processor architecture twice now, so they know what they're doing. Microsoft and Sony have been having a separate company develop chips for them, so there's more involved with getting everything to work right. Apple makes the processor, Apple makes the rest of the hardware, Apple makes the software.
Yeah.
They can do everything that makes it work perfectly for each other. Now you have Nintendo, and Nintendo's working with NVIDIA. NVIDIA's making everything. Yeah. But Nintendo does a lot of the other stuff, but Sony and Microsoft are now going to have to ask AMD or another company, can you make ARM processors for us? And these companies have not been making them. NVIDIA's been making ARM processors for a long time already. AMD
and they've
dabbled
got
in
a
it,
10-year
and
deal.
they haven't been making any good ones. So it's going to take them a while to make something that's any good.
Yeah, and Nintendo and NVIDIA have like a 10-year deal. I don't know if that's like an exclusive deal that like they
on
can't go work with those other companies. But I mean,
chip, I'm sure it's exclusive on that chip. That chip.
Well, and something else I did want to bring up, anyway. And Jeeb, I meant to tell you about this entire thing this week. I've been down some YouTube rabbit holes on some stuff, and some weird things have been popping up on my YouTube recommended. A few of those things are, do you remember maybe like the 3rd or 4th episode maybe of our podcast years ago? Apple.
It was I think it was
console.
Our first episode 0 might have been the Apple episode.
I don't know, but that's come back around. And if you look at everything they have now, we're talking about like just everything they have at this point. They're ready. They could do it right now.
Easily.
They could easily make a game console.
Take the screen off the iPad, put an HDMI port on it. You have a home console.
What they're saying is they could just put their new chip inside the Apple TV.
The Apple TV put the M4 chip in the Apple TV.
Yeah.
The standard M4 chip, and you have a game console.
Yeah.
You have a
they could do it tomorrow. Like it could already happen.
And you would just run the iOS version of Resident Evil 4 remake and stuff.
Because they've already done, and they did that long ago, where they made it easy for game studios to port their stuff over to the Macs and this and that and whatever. They gave them all the tools to do that already, and you've seen them in their presentations pushing towards getting games on their stuff. Like Apple it might be Apple and Nintendo just going at it. You never know. For the handheld.
Apple also provided tools for those companies to, if you make an app on Mac OS, they have tools that you can also make it on iOS because they're running on the same architecture now. They're all the same. It's all the same now.
See, I'm telling you, man.
They could easily do it. If they really wanted to, they could easily do it. That's just not their MO, though.
The big 3.
They're going to still make $1,300 on every MacBook Pro they sell. They're not going to. There's so much more involved in video games. I would be shocked if they actually announce anything anytime soon. They really want people to game on MacBooks and stuff but
yeah,
the big 3 of consoles in the future could look very different. We could see a big 3 of Nintendo, Apple, and Valve. That is the big 3. Sony is probably going to still be in there. Obviously, Sony's probably going to be at the top. But just for fun's sake, we'll say the top 4, because Sony's definitely going to be. I don't think Sony's going anywhere. But Sony, Nintendo is sticking around. Xbox is so relevant right now. They're scrambling. They're turning their own brand into a service.
Their
anyway.
Model is just
and they may be happy with that. If they're happy with turning the Xbox into a service and not a product, that's fine. But
I don't know.
I think it could be a big 4 in the future where Valve squeaks in at the end and Apple just decides that they want to be in the gaming industry and boom, they're in there. They already got everything set up for them. So I don't know. This is interesting. Very interesting. What the future of gaming could look like.
Switch 2 though. It's coming.
Yeah. Hey, PS5 is expensive as fuck, right, Jeff? Sorry, PS5 Pro. The PS5 Pro is expensive as fuck, and it's not that. Yes. Just because you did that research.
No, we're gonna have you back on. We're gonna talk about it.
We'll talk about that.
We'll do an extra episode or something. We're gonna figure it out.
It could be a bonus episode.
It could be for
our members, which you all should become. The link is in the description. If you're on YouTube, on your browser on Android, you can just click the button next to the subscribe button. It's the join button. You become a member, get extra podcast content every month. We're coming up here soon. I think next week we're going to be doing our members pod, I think, or the week after. I'm not sure. We're already there.
Yes, we are. I want to pull another question from the chat.
Sure,
Can we do that?
Sure. Yeah, of course. No rules here.
Retro Detox asks, any chance the Switch 2 is sold without a dock? And is it compatible with the original? I want to get back into that a little bit. Do you think this thing could come without a dock? I want to ask a question on top of that.
Okay.
Do we get a version that comes with a controller? An actual controller?
Multiple SKUs, Jeff,
I don't know about the controller. Will it be compatible with the previous dock? The previous dock is almost identical to any laptop docking station for USB-C that you could find. So yeah, I'm sure it's not like a 1-to-1. Like you can plug it in, it'll work, but it's not going to be like plugging a Switch into the Switch dock.
Well, especially if we go off these specs, if it's thinner than the old Switch, it's gonna be rocking around. I mean, the Switch now rocks around in there, but
if Nintendo's smart, the USB-C port would fit every USB-C standard. It will work with any USB-C hub, Thunderbolt, whatever, anything that uses a USB-C port dock. Right now, the regular Nintendo Switch does not have certain hardware in it that you need a special dock to be able to output the video.
Right. Yeah.
So if they're smart, they'll make it so that the dock is really just a standard USB-C dock. Because the Switch came out when a lot of USB-C standards weren't ready yet.
That's a good point. But yeah, will they move over to that though? I don't know. I'm looking at those renders again. It does look like it has that USB-C and those same, those two little guide holes that it has.
Yes.
To get into the dock in the right place. It looks like it does. In the renders, it looks like it has those there. But again, we don't know if these are actual renders. And in the real picture, unfortunately, it doesn't have that part on here and it's upside down. So we wouldn't be able to see it anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't know about the dock. I don't know. I don't know. What do you think about shipping without a dock? Like a version where you just get the console. I feel like that's just a Switch Lite.
That's a Switch Lite replacement at that point. I think the better question is, do we think it's going to replace the Switch Lite?
I bought a 3DS that didn't have a power adapter.
Yeah, dude, me too. What the fuck was that? That was bullshit. That was bullshit.
Nintendo had that thought that if you're buying a new 3DS, you probably already owned anything from the DSi or newer.
And I did.
They just didn't put it in the box. And it wasn't like it was a USB-C charger, which if Nintendo didn't include a USB-C charger now, I guess fine. But it was its own proprietary charger that you had to buy separately. Yeah. So maybe they will. Maybe they will give you a Switch 2 without a dock, and then you can use your old dock if you want to, or you can buy the one with the dock and get an upgraded dock.
Who knows if the dock has that weird thing in there and we get an update, because the dock currently, the one we have for the OLED, is technically capable of outputting 4K, correct?
Yeah, it's HDMI 2.0.
Okay, it could.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting.
It is. And again, that makes me think earlier, because it has the capability, because it can, that dock update could come and play in the future where the OLED docks will work with the new Switch. That's very possible.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it. I forgot about that whole thing.
Yeah, me too. Thanks, Ocho, for bringing that up. That's.
And you know what's funny? That's where we started the whole "show me your dock" thing.
Show me your dock. Yeah. That was the whole thing started. That was a long time ago.
Yeah,
it's 2021, before the OLED came out.
Good God.
Yeah, 2020 even. Yikes. Oh no, 2022, 2021, whatever. Anywho, Yeah. Any final thought before we just wrap this up and leave? You've been here a while. Any final thoughts from you two gentlemen?
Switch 2 announced tomorrow.
I will trust that what is in that leak is real when Nintendo says it is or not.
And they will do so tomorrow.
Remain skeptical, Jeff. I love it. Give me, please. Yeah. I want it now. I want it now.
I want, if those specs aren't real, I'm going to be
videos
upset.
I've made.
What's that?
I've made too many Switch 2 and Switch hardware leak videos. At some point, stop making them because there have been so many.
Speaking of which, you guys should all go check out Jeff's YouTube channel where he makes quality content. His name is Jefftroidvania on the socials, which means he loves Metroidvania games. If you guys love Metroidvania games, you're going to fit right in with Jeff. He streams on Twitch as well. Yeah. Both of those links are down in the description. Follow him on Twitter too. It's fun. He's got a cool beard. Got cool glasses. He shows you sometimes. I like it.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah,
we
thank
appreciate
you so much, man. Anything else you want to tell? Where else can people find you, if anywhere else?
If there's a place where it's social media and there's an account, there's probably a Jefftroidvania account. Do I maintain it? Probably not. I'm usually on Twitter. I go on Threads sometimes. I'm on Blue Sky once every 3 months. And YouTube and Twitch is probably the best places you'll find me most consistently other than Twitter.
Sweet. Drip, where can people find you?
YouTube.com/DripMediaGaming. All the other ones don't matter. Don't bother.
Makes me sad. I miss your streams, man. You can find me at
Twitch.tv/DripMedia. Go there. I dare you. I fucking dare you to go there. I dare you.
You guys can watch me multi-stream on Twitch and YouTube now, which is what I started doing recently. So check out my Twitch, my YouTube. Both links are down below. I post videos there occasionally. But this live stream is not over, guys. If you're hanging out in the live stream, please stay put. We'll do an after show for a little bit. And for the rest of you guys who are listening to this podcast on your audio feeds or watching this on YouTube after the live stream is completed, we're going to sign off for now. And we're going to see you guys. And hopefully when we talk to you next, there's a Switch 2. That's not going to happen.
There will be tomorrow.
We'll see you guys next week.
Later.
Every single show, Dreadlock Zelda, Sheetless is slow.